Hey, good morning, everybody! Jan, Steven, Don, Dan, Rex, Rob, Maurizio, Sergio, Leah, Donald, excuse me, Ivan, Gaten, Jan, Francois, Darren, John, Amy, Frank, Michael, Roland, Marianne, Larry, David, Merle, Brian. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. And welcome. We've got election day. Seems like it's been 6 weeks in the making, maybe a year in the making. I don't know. It seems like it's been 4 years in the making, right? Anyway, welcome to the stream, and we are at the day where we find out what happens. No matter which way you lean, it should be an interesting day for the market ultimately. And why? Well, we're going to set the administration for the next 4 years. But as I have calmly held, I don't really think it matters which way we go. It's going to be the same net result. We're probably going to meet some kind of top and get some kind of correction. In time frame, well, it's looking like we're probably going to get some kind of finish to the correction this week. Maybe more important, the FOMC meeting that starts tomorrow and wraps up on Thursday. A rare late week FOMC meeting. Usually they wrap up on Wednesday, but so delaying a day. And I guess they did that to make sure they didn't conflict with the election. So that's going on starting tomorrow and then wrapping up Thursday. I think it has a bigger impact on the markets, possibly, potentially, especially immediate impact. Usually we'll react very quickly to a rate change announcement. And what the FOMC, what Jerome Powell says during his press conference, that'll happen at 2 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. What a week. And there could be some volatility and chaos today based on what I've been hearing. And all trading involves a substantial risk of loss. Past performance, not necessarily indicative of future results. This presentation here is intended to be informational, educational, fun, entertaining, not a recommendation to be buying or selling any financial instrument. If you desire personal financial advice, you need to hire and consult a financial advisor. What does all that mean? It means I make predictions. I may never get another prediction right again. Kind of suck. But you see the news on NVIDIA last night? Asking the Supreme Court to give them immunity from accounting irregularities and being investigated under SMCI. SMCI getting threatened with delisting from the NASDAQ. This is crazy stuff. Ken Griffin, a large hedge fund manager, sold almost $1 billion worth of his NVIDIA holding. Liquidated it completely. Hey, you haven't seen any of this in the mainstream media. Absolute craziness right here. And, 2003, NVIDIA was investigated for fraud, securities fraud. And here we are again. SMCI being investigated for fraud. Ernst & Young quit being their accounting. I mean, the things I predicted months and months ago may be coming true. And all those semiconductor ETF charts that just haven't been showing quite the bullishness, maybe those are all going to come true. So even though I predict stuff, maybe I'll never get another one right again. But this presentation, sometimes I get lucky, This presentation intended to be fun, entertaining, not a direction for you to, I'm not telling you what to do, essentially. So don't buy stocks, options, bonds, forex, futures, cryptos, treasuries. Don't long them, don't short them, don't trade them. There's a substantial risk of loss if you do. And if you desire personal financial advice, somebody just to tell you what to do, you're gonna have to consult a financial advisor, and hopefully you trust them. Anyway, here we are on election day. Right here, U.S. all day long. Crazy stuff could happen all day long. Right there. We do have some PMI coming out at 10 a.m. Right there. And then tomorrow, benign, some crude oil inventory, normal stuff. But then Thursday, more fireworks as we get into the 2 p.m. time frame right there. That is the important stuff right there. That's the important stuff. Maybe more important than what happens today. Some would say no, but I think for traders, I'm a trader. Traders, this is immediate impact right here. Usually, we tend to react very quickly in the market, and this up here, that just kind of sets the stage for the next 4 years, essentially. We won't even know officially the final results of this until January 6th. The official final results. We may have a good idea in the coming days. Maybe not today. Maybe take a couple weeks. We'll have a good idea by January 6th. But I guess we'll see what happens. All right. I'm try to keep it out of, I try to keep politics out of this because it doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. And you can say what you want to about it, but I think the machine is still the machine, and no matter who wins, we're probably going to do the same thing. Probably still going to do the same thing. So it's probably going to get to a top and then pull back. We kind of chopped into the, scenario number 2 I listed out. Scenario number 1 was a blow off top into the election and FOMC. Hadn't really happened. Now it's still possible we get a giant, like something happens tonight. Tomorrow we get some kind of giant blow off move into the FOMC and we burn it down. That's still possible. Not very likely at the moment. But, yesterday I said that I would come with a trade and do you one better. We're going to look at the potential live here on the stream today. The market really pricing out most of the participation. So just not the best, I guess. So do we know what the NVIDIA guy did with the money? That's a good question. But really it's, so NVIDIA runs a lending program. And the lending, SMCI, Supermicro, is their third largest client, third largest buyer of GPUs, as I've shown off before. I guess it's debatable, third largest, fourth largest, something like that. And so they have this financing program to help cover the gap. And they have a lot of millions of dollars lent out to Supermicro. So there may be some problems that spill back into NVIDIA. So that's a threat, I guess you might say. So far, not really reacting here. But this one would not surprise me if we get down to below the $20 level even. We're down in into the target zone that we held back when we were, this has a split in it. So if you've missed a few episodes of my show here, or, you remember me talking about when SMCI was hitting 1200 and you should buy an 800 put. At this point, that was hitting 120 with the 10-for-1 split, and you should have bought an $80 put, to put it in current dollar terms. But with the 10-for-1 split back here, regular stock split, not a reverse split, probably shouldn't have done that, honestly, because now we're back at $260 pre-split. That worked out pretty good. And I know several of you rode the thing down. So, yeah, it's virtually identical to the psychology chart. Now, NVIDIA, if they don't get some kind of immunity, problems could be brewing here. And definitely problems. So, I guess we'll see what happens. I'm going to pull up a tweet I shared. See if I can. Oop, that's not the right one. See if I can find this. Oh, here's one of the things. It's that right there. Almost $1 billion worth of NVIDIA stock sold by Ken Griffin. That's Citadel of the GameStop stuff. Same one. And then the other one, let's see. Here we go. Pull this over right here. Breaking. NVIDIA asked for legal immunity from securities fraud prosecution by the U.S. Supreme Court. Supermicro was warned if it fails to provide audited compliance plan by November 16th, which is 11 days away, it will be delisted from the NASDAQ. Right there. And if you read the comments for this, guess what? This happened before. This is like deja vu. People that commit, and NVIDIA has committed fraud before. So this is not completely brand new. And I'm not logged into X on this computer. So here's a screenshot right here. It would be delisted again. It was delisted before. It would be delisted again. And in 2003, NVIDIA had to settle with the SEC for accounting fraud. So there you go. There you go. There are risks to playing long semiconductors right now. All right. Hey, they don't have to have a reason. that was the whole point of that. Like, why did they sell? They don't have to disclose why. They just have to disclose they did. So watch out. Watch out. And the fact they filed for immunity with the Supreme Court, that's something going on. Something going on. So that's, got to read the tea leaves here. And got to be careful. This thing can drew this arrow down here a long time ago. SMCI already burned it down. NVIDIA, if they don't get immunity, watch out, baby. Watch out. They settled before. That's not an admission of guilt, but you tell me. So anyway, just watch out if you're long this baby or anything related to this baby, any of the leverage stuff. Be careful. We could spike that 147.93 target and then plummet down the abyss. So just watch out. All right. I'm not saying it's gonna, but it sure does. It sure does look a lot like this chart over here, my bubble pattern chart. And you maybe you're new here, you haven't seen this before, but look over here. Look when we go back just a short bit of time here. Look at that. Doesn't that look a lot like what we're doing right now? Maybe. Like, we could have this little blow off here. Look at this. This was pre-split, all right? It wasn't, these prices weren't the prices. These were 10 times these prices. That's 70% pullback, basically. Off that high to that low. And that was just in 2021. You think these things can't happen? Maybe it happened a long time ago. That's not that long ago. All right, there was a split there. 4 for 1. So these prices are even. But here's another one. Does it every so often here. Look, another one right here. 60% pullback. That's 2 of these giant pullbacks, more than 50% since 2018. Well, things are different now. Maybe. Maybe not. So we did the split, 50% pullback, put it right back down in here. I'm just saying, it's prudent to be careful, all right? We start breaking down, watch out. We did pop off the high probability pattern to hit that 147.93 target up there. So if we do tag that, it might be time to protect yourself in NVIDIA exposure. All right? Just my warning out there. Now, circling back to S&P 500. Let's jump down some time frames. Let's look at what we got cooking. On the 15-minute, we're kind of negative here. We actually made a lower low yesterday. Yeah, right there. Kind of thought we might. We didn't get the bounce at all. It just kind of failed down, made the lower low. That was kind of what I said might be likely to happen. We didn't quite get the extension to the downside. So where does this leave us, right? Like, so far we've just got a 3-wave up off that low, lowest low. Got to remove everything we were working with. So here's what we got. That low, this high, this low. And the roadmap line is the target at this point. If we're going to be bullish, we may just bounce off of that, push through, retrace before we can get going. It'd be something like this. Something kind of gnarly. Now this could extend further. Maybe more like that. I don't know. We'll see what the operative path is. Now, the election in FOMC. This is not a bullish setup here. This price action overnight, switching to ES because this is overnight price action. Looking kind of nasty, getting tighter. Right into this roadmap line resistance here. Grab some full situational awareness. 30-minute above us. 1 hour on up. 4 hour on up. Potential to go down. The daily below us. Down here. 55. As we've talked about a few times recently, we've seen a 5% pullback in the not so distant past on election, especially when Trump was involved, and it was a surprise. 5% pullback at this point would put us down to 54.60. That can happen fast. It can happen overnight. It can happen so fast you don't even get a chance to trade it during regular trading hours. So what does that leave us with potentials to be able to trade? It leaves us with VIX, but you'd have to trade VIX futures to be able to close it out overnight. You're going to have to keep an eye on this. Interestingly, look at this right here. It's kind of a shelf there with higher lows coming up. This is interesting. So one of the things you could play, either long VIX, and let me type this in. As I said, you could go long VIX futures. If you have the ability to trade the options, you could do something like that. VIX itself, right here. How far out do we need to be? Right, where do we look on here? 1 week. That covers us out till next week. Next Tuesday. 2 weeks. That covers us next 2 weeks. That covers down to the last Tuesday of the month. This covers into December. Well, we were already talking about we may not know the results till January, so we may be needing to be out here. Commonly, it's wise to go out 90 days, 3 months, cover 3 months of the market with your protection. If you're going for protection, that's where you're probably the best place to be looking, all right? Now, the prices aren't too bad here, right? Not too bad, he says. So, how high might VIX go? Well, we just recently had a spike up to 60. 30, 33, 33, 33, 33, 33, and 30, 33, 35. That might be a good place to expect a pop. This seems to be an outlier. Look at all these spikes in, not so long ago in that 35 area. So pulling back over and one standard deviation is at between 30 and 31. 2 standard deviations between 39 and 40. So it might be, you go long that one. And if that's a little pricey for you, might say, hey, maybe I want to sell a 36. Right? That bring it down to a 96-cent cost. Not too shabby. That's a potential. I'm not saying you should trade it. That covers a volatility expansion between now and 105 days from now. All right. This is helpful. Give me feedback. If you got questions, give me feedback. I can't tell you specifically what to do, but that's, 95 bucks. Right there, 95 bucks. Now, what's the potential profit? Potential profit is the difference in the strikes. So 12. So 1,200 bucks minus the cost, 95 bucks. So 1,105 bucks. All right, 1,105 bucks potential profit on a $95 risk. That's a pretty good risk to reward. All right. Covers 105 days. That's pretty all right, right? That's a fair one. Now, these are the kind of things I was going through yesterday. I didn't place any of them because I just didn't find anything I loved, right? Like, this is pretty good. Pretty good. I may place at least one of these or maybe a few of these. So what's the margin? There is no margin. 95 bucks is the cost. There's no margin. Your buying power is reduced by 98 bucks, which is the contract fees right there. Estimated buying power effect reduced by 98 bucks. So there's no caveats here. Like, this is your max risk right there. 95 bucks. How much can you lose? 95 bucks. How much can you make? 1,100 bucks. Plus your 95 bucks back. All right. That's a protection trade. That's like insurance. That's like paying car insurance. Do you want to collect? Not really. All right. You probably lose the 95 bucks. So don't be loading up on this like I'm going all in. Like, a VIX expansion is not a guarantee. This is to cover CYA, all right? And as VIX drops out, we may see this spread get cheaper, or you can move it closer to the money. Closer to the money means going to 23 and possibly 35 instead of 24 and 36. The at the money is right there with the yellow line, hanging out between 21 and 22. Now, what would it take to pay this off? A spike up to like 35, 36. Even higher, caps you out at the max profit. Now, probably not going to be the way it works, though, unless it gets close to the expiration in 105 days. So you may get just a fraction. You may get, $600 or $800 out of this instead of 1,100 or 1,200 bucks out of this. That's all the things nobody usually talks to you about. If this happens this week, maybe you only get 400 or 500 bucks out of this instead of 1,200. All right. Closer to that 105 days from now, if we're still elevated, you'd probably get the max payout if we got a big spike. Now you're going to have to take action. If you see a big spike, if things are volatile, GTFO, book the profit, get out, move on. All right. Clear the trade. Let's talk about something else. Some other potential possibility. Now, before I switch to that one, here's another one right here. See, there's no options available for me right now on Tasty Trade. So you would have to buy VIX contracts. You can either buy one for a spike or you can sell one for a dip. And these do take a hefty Your account's not enabled for futures. This account I'm logged into right now is not enabled for futures. Right here. But it's going to take a hefty chunk. And if you're like, "Ooh, I don't have that kind of cash," VXM is the micro VIX right here. Much lower margin required to hold this. Now, as volatility dips, we'll be losing money. As volatility spikes, this will be a live gain-loss exposure to volatility. That's possible. And I don't have options contracts on this one either. All right. Not supported on Tasty. It doesn't mean they don't exist. It's just not supported on Tasty. ES. And this is a specific ES contract. You can see it's kind of bolded ES with the bright white, and Z4 is in kind of grayed out. That's the specific contract. Now this one does have options available. We've got them all the way to 0 days, 1 days, 2 days. You know, these have daily options, essentially. Why are there not 4 or 5? Because that's the weekend. And we roll on down here. So, same situation. What if we're trying to cover the next, say, 90 days? Now, EOM, those contracts are kind of special. Not too keen on trading those. All right. This is one of those where futures knowledge comes into handy. There's some special ones in here that expire like in the morning, and in some, like, it's not like your normal options. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm not trying to tell you should do this. Just throwing these out there as a potential. All right. Just discussing stuff. I'm not telling you to do this. Now, see these AM ones? Those are special. I tend to stay away from morning expirations. All right. That means those expire at the open. It's like, what the heck? Yeah. A little weird. They do show up in here. So I tend to stay away from those ones. And I tend to stay away from those EOM ones. They just don't tend to be as nice to play. All right. Now, back to what we were talking about. Coming in. How do we cover the election and all the things? Well, right now we have January 17th. Like I said, skipping the EOM, or we have February 21st. Let's not go too far out. Now, do you remember the prices I was talking about? The downside prices, right? I mean, look at these. These are hefty prices, right? You're like, whoo, 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 baby. Those are smoking. Right, 1 standard deviation. Look at this. 1 standard deviation, 5,200. Wow. Let's go look at this real quick. Oop, I just typed the wrong thing in the wrong box. Back to ES, right? We were talking about this pullback. Now, if you wanted to cover the week, you can cover the week, all right? And we can talk about that really quickly. So ES, we're looking at maybe down to 54. That longer term down to 52. See what the market expects. Market expects up. Market expects ES is going up over the long term. You know, that's 2025, 2028, 2029. Are all those contracts available? Yes, you can trade them all. That's all tradable. Those are all down through here. Like all these down here. All right, Tasty Trade only lets me load till 2027, but the 2028, 2029, those are all available. So what if we want to cover for a week? Like, what if we just want to cover the chaos this week? Maybe try to take advantage of a dip down to this 5,400. Now, futures, if you chose, why am I looking at futures and not like SPX right now? Because you can close these 24/7, right? Remember, the 2016 thing happened overnight. You had to be paying attention. So you got to set alerts, and you got to take action when those alerts fire off if we get a big dip. So we're looking at down to 54. Right? Get to 54. Well, let's be a little more conservative. Let's say 5,500. Right? What if we dip to 5,500? Now, what up here could we take advantage of? Like 5,700, 5,755. If you've kind of never built this before, this is what I sit here and do. So at 5,700, you know, we're up here at the mark, you know, right here's the money right here. The actual price action right now between 50, you know, we're at 57.67. Could you go to 57.50? You could. For trying to cover some significant downside though, maybe a long here. This is a debit. Long here, that's pretty pricey. These are $50 a point, so that's 50 times 50. That's $2,500 for that contract. Let's see if we can get this cheaper. Let's cover down to 5,500. Right there. And we got it down to 37. That's better. Let's grab the calculator. 37.50. ES points are in $50 increments. So that's $1,800 for that spread. So that's $1,800. But how much would it pay? $1,800 exposure for 200-point spread minus the debit here. So 200 point times 50. That's $10,000 potential minus your $1,900 So minus 1,900 to say, and round it up to 38. So $8,000 potential payouts on a $2,000 risk. That's only a 4-to-1. Not as awesome as the ES. I mean, not as awesome as the VIX. But it's also, you can get out 24/7. Or 23/7. You know, from 5 o'clock to 6 p.m. Eastern, when I'm doing 30 minutes of awesome this evening, you wouldn't be able to get out, but otherwise you'd be able to get out. So, there you go. Rico, maybe. But where does it finish? So there's the potential ES right there. This does cover the bigger downside potential. So you could be 3 waves off that high, but it could be the first move down and we get a bigger continuation. And lest I remind you, when we roll back in time, history doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. You remember that one? Let's turn off that. This was election night right here. Look at that. That was the initial reaction. But by the time it finished the day, we were positive. This is what I'm talking about potentially could happen right here. Doesn't show up in the S&P 500 chart. Right down there. Like about a 5% correction. Happened overnight. And then game on. If something crazy happens, we get some kind of crazy news. Right there you go. And it happened pretty quick. And I'd have to be scrolling back forever on this chart, probably. Yeah. Way back. Way back, way back. Yeah, I forget it. I'm not going to do that right now. So there's that potential. Plus, I mean, I'm not covering this, but with this trade that I just showed off. But if we look at this right here, can't do it on S. Have to do it on SPX. This right here, if we go back 100 years ago, switch to a line chart. Look at that. See that right there? how crazy that was. We had this consolidation and then a ramp. Consolidation and then a ramp. Could be a bigger downside brewing. Everything bubble. Psychology of a market cycle. 100 years ago, 100-year cycle. Be careful. We could be finishing up this Elliott wave cycle and looking for a bigger correction. Don't necessarily think that's happening today or this week. I would cover to the roadmap line if I was looking for downside protection. The ES trade may be a little expensive, but it is liquid. The VIX trade may cover you a little better risk to reward, lower risk, $95 contract, but at the same token, you can't get out 24/7. So if this only happens overnight, you may not be able to take advantage. This just happens tonight, and then tomorrow we're green again. You missed it. All right. If you just look at the S&P 500 chart right here, we go back to 2016. Back. 2020. 2018, 2016, right there. Maybe like, well, you know, how did that look on the S&P 500 charts? Right here, no tail. Cash index, it was closed. We didn't do that big spike down, 5%. So if you were only in the cash index, you couldn't take advantage of that. It's just a little dip and a big pop and continue on higher. The average election year, we're kind of flat coming into the actual election. This election year, grab January, right up here, we're up 20% on the S&P. We're up quite a bit. Opportunity for a pullback. Just be careful out there. I may go with the VIX one. Like, that seems to be the more affordable option available today. So could this blow off? Yeah, that was kind of my scenarios. Like, we might see a pullback into election/FOMC. Anything's possible. We may hit the daily roadmap line and then rock and roll higher. We did hit extensions to the upside. We did retrace. We're retracing back to the breakout. A classic move. We had to hold this breakout area right here. We may not see a big dip. We may just hold that and rally on up to the next upside target. Very classic price action that we just retest the breakouts. That was a breakout zone from back here in July. Then again in August. Then again in September. And then we broke through, rallied up, come back, test it. Then rally on up to 6,000, possibly 63, possibly 65. We could get a big blow-off move. And this can last into Q2, Q1, late Q1, early Q2, maybe late Q2. You know, late Q1 to late Q2. That's kind of my time frame where I highly expect this to top out. And then possibly at 6,600 area, possibly into Q3 or Q4. If we get a little correction in here, be a normal, prolong the upside. Somewhere out there, mid to late next year, probably gonna top and work on setting up a downside. So be careful. Be careful, be careful, be careful. All right. Everybody feel I've sufficiently beat this dead horse? All right. Let's talk about what's moving today, shall we? NQ, lower time frames. Potentially reversing out of this. We did not make the lower low on NQ. Yesterday, we actually held a higher low. Barely. Barely. Breakout above this high at 20,281. We're probably setting the stage to going higher. There may be no negative reaction tonight. It could just be a rip, and then we kind of pause for the FOMC, and then we see what happens there. So far, this looks like a move up and a retrace and potential break above. If we can break above, we can go higher. And there you go. So what's the operative low to look at right now on NQ is this one right here. Right back there. This was a higher low. So we've got the initial move up, a retrace, and see what happens next. Flipping back to ES real quick. This is very choppy and overlapping so far. Move up, a retrace, very overlapping. Only way I can count that was a leading diagonal of some sort, but it didn't do any kind of correction off of that. So this is just nasty price action. This is probably going to correct again. Like so far, that looks like 1, 2, 3 off the low. And we're stalling out in the potential A equals C zone right there. If we can get on up to 5,800 area, we might be able to turn this into something more bullish. But the way this started off the low right here from yesterday evening, not very bullish price action. This overlappy chop stuff, not the kind of stuff that usually leads to continuation. Doesn't mean it won't. It's just not usually. All right. That just gives me a little bit of caution. Now, if we get some mega rally today, you may wait and put your protection on later in the day. Maybe what I do is wait till later in the day. At this point, I didn't really find anything good yesterday. There were no great values. So what that means, like I was talking about yesterday morning, was that the market's just pricing out downside protection at this point. RTY. This one still looks very choppy, very, very nasty. Go back to zoom it in. So we've got the initial 1, 2 in place. Now we're looking at just correct. Let's just clear off a few things. This high, this low. If we hold this right here, that can be a 1, 2, 1, 2. And if we start breaking down below this, it could very quickly avalanche down further. I'm just looking for a hit of there. I bought that IWM put spread. Bought the 216, 210. Oh, that was sloppy. Go back to IWM. 216, 210. The roadmap line sitting right there at 210. Could very quickly develop into some downside action. Oil. Look at that. Back in 72. It's in the coin flip zone. I tell you. The oil is not the major driver for what happens. This is back to coin flip in oil prices. It's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy right there. That's I don't even know what to say. That's just wild. Like they tried to push it down, failed, right back up into the coin flip. So oil is not a player for the election today. Wild. GC, I mean, they tried. Valiant attempt, but gold just churning here. This, back in 2016, this had a large 5% pop and then gave it back. We can zoom this out and go run back and look at it. (2018, 2017, 2016), right there it is. If you've never looked at these, this is why you come watch me, right? Look at this one right here. Look at that right there. Almost 5% pop. I probably missed it just slightly. 5%, and then gave it all back, plus a lot more over the coming days. So could you go long gold as another way to play? Yeah, you could, but gold is already sitting at highs, so expecting a 5% pop, probably not gonna be affordable. The GC contracts, and we can look at them. I can show you. Pull this over. GC. Looking at something even just short term, a week out. Look at these prices. And these are not 50-point. These are like $100 points. These are expensive. And a 5% pop is not that great off of here. If we go back over, look at what a 5% pop would be from where we are. Be looking at spiking my target area up here, 28.90. So like a 20, you could do like 100-point gold spread. So 27.90 long, 28.90 short, which has almost no probability of getting there. So you probably just be better off buying, if you really expected a 5% up, you'd be better off buying that 28.50, maybe even 28.40. Be better off just buying that long. Probably won't do the math on this. Nope, won't do the math on that. Caution, you are not approved for. If I click the other account that I am approved in, I clear the trade. Oh, I have to do that. And yeah, 600. That'd be a $600. Yeah, those are just $100 points, so $600 right there. Buying power hit right there. All right. So maybe pop, maybe drop. Be careful chasing gold. That does need a correction. The one that I've talked about, the holding the 3-wave correction off the high, this may experience an outsized pop. 35, 36, 37. Next upside targets up here. Probably on the way to 40. And that 618 level. Zoom it out. That big high right here, 49.50. This low right here from 2020. There's the 618 level. You see the resistance here. Those weren't, that 618 wasn't there before we made this low. Funny enough, we're right here at that resistance level. Breakthrough there. Kind of sets up this 55 to 60 target area up here. Long term. Now this is a monthly chart, so this could be well into the 25, 26, 27 before we get up there. Looks pretty spicy. That right there. This is why I'm long AF silver right now. Wave 3 could top out just below. If this is a 1, this is a 2, this is a 3, we could top out right in here. Could get an extension up here. Do a 4 and a 5 that would top out right there. All right. Those are the plays right now. Bitcoin retraced back down, held above the breakout level. Why am I using futures? Because this is a certified price. Every exchange has their own pricing, and this is the CME's price. Commodities, Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Bounced off the breakout of the downtrend of highs. Potentially a 3-wave up. This is caution. If we can break back above that high, we could get an extension on up into the 80,000s. So I'm not sure on, this is very sloppy price action off this August low right now. Now it could have a little, it doesn't look the greatest for a 5-wave up off of this low either. So not sure here. This looks very much like this is a 1-wave. This is a correction, 3-wave, and there's it's 3 waves off this low. And 3 waves off this low with the 3-wave in that piece right there. So that's a lot of 3-wavy moves and caution. We haven't developed anything that looks 5-wavy to me. Impulsive for continuation trend higher. The only super awesome thing we have going right now is the break above this trend line and the retest of the trend line. You know, similar to SPX. Back in 2022, when we were cruising down, we got that breakout. This was not looking that great. Got that breakout, got that retest, and then we ran, and we haven't looked back. So that's a similar kind of thing we're looking at on Bitcoin right now. Breaking out of the downtrend of highs, retesting, potentially setting up the new trend. Potentially. Not quite there yet. You can see S&P went on to get a nice expansion. Bitcoin on the smaller time frame here may be able to do that. Keep an eye on it. Ethereum still doesn't look finished. This looks like some sort of wave 4 correction and needs a lower low to finish this up. We have the first move down, the retrace 1, 2, 3, 4. Needs a 5th. Possibly it did that here on the futures. But then this price action still looks corrective and looks like we're going to get a lower low. Be careful on Ethereum. Dollar. Next support zone, next support zone, next support zone. We turn down off the resistance. NKD, just churning here. I've drawn lots of fib lines, lots of potentials. We popped up, we retraced the roadmap line, moved up, retraced, held a higher low. If we break out above this high, kind of sets the stage that we're growing, cruising on up to this target area up here around 44,000. If we can do that, it'll probably pull the US markets with it. Probably last out in the Q1, Q2. And it probably won't be without humps and bumps along the way. All right. I went and pulled everything moving $2 or more up and $2 or more down, put it on the gainers list for the $2 or more up and the decliners list for the $2 or more down. And if you have a request, put a reminder in your calendar to come back at 5 p.m. today, 5 p.m. Eastern. I will do requests for at least 30 minutes, if not an hour, hour and a half, until you're satisfied. I tend to, or I get too tired to do it. Or we get below like 70 people on the stream, then I usually cut it off. So, A-Lab, Astrolab. So we popped up. We have a potential breakout, but we don't have enough price history to really do great work here. Potential for this to rally on up to 103, 110 area. That's the potential upside right now. Not a lot of anything to work with here. So be careful. AZPN. Zoom that out. Grab that, pull that down. It's been a few days since I looked at this. We've got, just grab the new fib line tool. Added a new level that's 90% of the way to 1272 because sometimes we run a little shy. I hold that these are fuzzy zones, not definitive solid lines. And 280 would be the upside if we're going to break above this prior consolidation here. Right at the line, if we can break above, 280 would be the upside. PTIR. 2x leverage on PLTR. PLTR went a little crazy. What I was seeing, yep, there it is. Breaking through right into the target zone. Next upside, 54. 67 above that potential. Sometimes they don't get the pullback. They just rip. This is starting to go exponential. Watch out. How far can exponential take us? It can go crazy higher. All right. We could go all the way up to the 686. Very few exceed 686, but 686 is 265 at this point. I could go up here, and then I'll probably do the ever familiar thing, and then break back if we're going to do something crazy. Be careful. QNST. Quinn Street. Popping and rejecting the breakouts at this moment. That looks pretty nasty. Just a bunch of sideways. I don't feel like that's trending. Could it be starting a new trend? It could, but rejecting the breakout is not the way to start a new trend. MSTR, probably recovering with Bitcoin. Pulling up off the low so far. That one, I still feel like big picture. This is probably heading on up here in this crazy big upside move. Actually looks better on the log scale. Right there, somewhere around 1,000. Absolute crazy, but that move up, that retrace, next extension puts us up to 1,000 if we can get it. Then we may do another pullback back to the 200s before we do another expansion. And they may split it again if we get up there. PLTR we already hit. Carvana. This one's probably going to run out of gas before too long, but if so, that was the lowest low. We don't have the chart before the IPO. Not very clear. You could potentially do this, but it doesn't really mean a lot without more context over here. We don't know if we were higher or lower or what was going on over here. Possibly up to 722, but I would expect a pullback. Right, we have 1, 2, 1, 2. Is that a 3? I don't know. Unclear at the moment what we've got cooking. If that's a 1, 2, and that's the 3 could take us up to 948, maybe. If this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're probably playing out the 5 and may experience a bigger retrace. So unclear on Carvana. Just kind of staying away. You could buy it if you wanted to, but be careful. EMR. Potential for that to go up to 122. Beautiful. Maybe even a little higher, maybe 123. Yeah, it's just a regular market roadmap bounce. FNGU. Potential for that one to, oh man, we're trying to fill the gap. If we can fill the gap, get on up. 627. APO. Wow, we're running along today. APO, welcome to the election. And next target up. It's not even the target. Let's see. Like that. Just clear. Let's clear all the drawings. That high, that low. Yeah, we're at the 1618, maybe 174 above that. GFS. Global Foundries is pretty crappy. I wouldn't touch that. That's a nasty price pattern. So there's the IPO. IPOs start out, 95% of them start out bearish or in some sort of correction. 3-wave moves, and that's a lower low. Could be the low, but not enough proof yet. FUTU. Potential for this to break out. Did a correction. China dumping like 10 trillion won in. We'll see what happens there. Tesla. As I said, I did sell the 230 puts down here for this Friday. I've got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I got 3 days left on that to make a couple $100. That looks like the next operative move right there. Move up, retrace. Held the 50% area. Looks pretty spicy. MPC. Not sure this is done correcting yet. We may need a deeper push on down to this 100, 110 area. MSTU, MicroStrategy leverage. If you want to ride that to 1,000, buy some shares of this with the 2x leverage. You may not get full 2x over the long term due to the costs of maintaining leverage, but you'll do better than MSTR's return. DJTWW. Warrants on Donald J. Trump's company. This, remember, if the challenger loses, this is probably going in the toilet. DLTR. Still chugging down to the target. DJT. $60 upside and potential of the basement if they don't win. BA. Working. Oh, man, this needs. They resolved their labor contract, but this needs one more dip. One more final nail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Needs one more final move. MSTX. There's another 2x long on MicroStrategy. Potentially lower priced if you want to go after that. BLDR. That was a roadmap bounce. Move the drawings. That high, that low. Break above this 190 area. Set the stage for 208. AGFY. That looks like a horrible chart. Reverse split. That's a dumpster fire. Be careful on the dumpster fire. Don't trade fires. Just burn it down. YINN. The yen. Just kind of hanging. The yang. Probably going to plummet in the abyss. There's a reverse split. 1 for 20. That's probably going to keep on trucking down. ADM. Oh, looky here. We're at the target. Ha! Got another one. Look at that. Look at that. That could potentially be the low, and we could build something off of this. Sometimes we get lucky. You had like 2 days to get in, and boom, you're at the target. Holy. Wow. Yeah, almost right to it. 48. Yeah. That can be it. That might be the low right there. These are the. Not even sure what happened there. I skipped down from up here. Let's finish these up. Marvel. Oh, I did the yang, and that's how I got down here. Marvel. Upside target 91. PDD. And just kind of hanging, waiting. Baba. Hanging, waiting. C-Web. Hanging, waiting. That may need a touch of the roadmap line on just a little deeper. Roadmap line, links in the description down below. Or you can click my channel name and the channel, the video that's pinned to the channel. It kind of explains what this whole thing is and how it works. That's another dumpster fire. Arm. Watch out for the retrace. We hit resistance and turn down. We break below the roadmap line. This can go much deeper. Race back to the roadmap line. Look at that. Ka-chow. Probably gonna hit. Nice three-way of retrace. That move, that move, that move. Yeah, probably bottom somewhere in this zone right here. If we're gonna hold it, if we're gonna start a downtrend, probably extend down to 411 or lower before we get the bounce. CE. Right there, probably going lower low. Wouldn't surprise me to get a move lower than that move right there. NXPI, still on the path for the lower low, and need to pull that right there. Yep, still expect that move down a little bit lower, 109, you know, another 20 or 30 bucks down. Cirrus Logic, ha, look at that. It's like it's magic. Go to where I pointed. LSCC, potential for that to go lower again. The Yang we already covered. ADM we already covered. BRKR. Bruker. Oh man, look at that. Right down. Extension targets. Wow. 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 Off of that low and that high. Yep. This could be wrapping it up. We may go lower low, but this could be wrapping it up here on this correction. That's starting to look like first move down, so we may only get a 618 retrace off of this. So the resistance zone, if you're going to target along, be careful if we get up to the 70 area up here. We may turn down and go lower again. AZN, that one's getting the bigger, deeper move. Busted down. Whew. And we may go, that may be the end of the party for AZN for now. Maybe into a bigger correction. May need to come back down to this zone right in here. AGCO. That looks like it wants to go lower low again. Breaking down below the 618 tips the odds that we're going down to 82. JELD. Yep, it's getting smacked. Three wave up, continuation lower. Maybe down to $6 on JELD. First solar. Zoomer up. Roadmap line, I still expect that to get a finality move. Like that just seems to be undone. Like 1, 2, 3, maybe done, but we came up shy of the ideal targets. Let's kind of expand this just a little bit. I would expect that to go just a little lower. So watch for here. If we can break above, we may be turning the odds. Here's the resistance we got to get through to go up here at 327. That resistance at 259, but we're at a resistance point now. If we get above that, if we get a daily close above 220, odds are we might be trying to get something more bullish going, but that looks like it wants to go lower low right now. Beam. That's a pretty nasty chart. I wouldn't touch it. That's just nasty biotech chart. Max, wow, 1, 2, 3. Potential for a low in here. ALPS or APLS. Probably going to come back to the low. TCMD. Yeah, med specialty. That's a crazy three wave up and then nothing. Deep retrace that overlapped the first move up. You got me here. There's no No true high probability anything. This just looks like it's dead. Lower, like looks like it's gonna do a watermelon seed squeeze, which that may be a wave, and this is a B wave. A, B, C, D, E, and then we go down. So this could be first move down, retrace, and we could go down to $5 after this. That would be what I kind of would expect off of that one. ILMN. That's a biotech. Be careful. 2, 3. Potential for 166 on the upside there. MQ. Lower low. Win. Back to the roadmap line. This sets up a potential bounce wherever the bottom finally is here. Let's see. Let's run another fib line off that low, that high. Maybe retracing the 618 right there. And then if we break back above the 98 area, set the stage for 111, 114, 124 maybe. All right, bonus trade for the day, COLM. So COLM, a little bit choppy here. Columbia Sportswear, maybe you've heard of it. Outdoor wear company. So this bounce right here is the bounce right there. Sets the stage for 85. And statistics I brought with me today. Control C. If you're still with me, let me know in the chat. Right there, COLM, 8616 is the actual target. 74 below is the stop. Oh, it's the one. We skip one, go back one more. And 90% win rate, 4.2 on the profit factor, 49 trading days on average on 20 trades since 1997. So what does that look like? This actually goes back just to that high right there. See the scaling on a trade makes all the difference. Now it also does have a bigger potential for this high back here. Bigger potential targets up at 89, 86, and for 49 trading days, what does that look like? 49 is right. That's 47, 48, 49, 72 days out, mid to late January. That's on the average. Average can be longer than what we get, or it can be shorter than what we get. So average is an average. Take two of anything. One's above average, one's below average. So be careful out there if you take advantage of that. $4 upside potential. And we're showing a nice big strong green candle today, so a little bit less than that. There you go. Alrighty. Bias for the day. Jumping back into it. For those of you still left with me, bias for the day. Looks like we're getting the green price action here. Maybe the market's relieved. We've moved into the resistance there. Getting a little resistance on that roadmap line. We can poke through, get above that. Got that gap down to contend with. We have to get up through that. Tip the odds we're going on up higher. So we're up, looking at this 58, the 58.20, that area may be significant resistance. I have to go look at the gamma charts to really see where the resistance is on the upside. And if we can start breaking above that gap down, looks very promising for continuation up over the next couple of days. FOMC coming up Thursday, so caution. I'm not really doing a lot of trading this week. Just kind of sitting on my hands a little bit, waiting. All right. Have a great day, everybody. I'll be back with you 5 p.m. Make sure you come see me for 30 minutes of awesome. If you want to take requests, if you want to make requests, I'll take requests. And